Sharat Kumar here, Economics Faculty from Shakthi International School. So in this 1000 steps video activity today, I have come up with another concept that is aggregate demand. So which is the most important element in the chapter determination of income and employment. Okay, today we are going to understand about this aggregate demand and its components. So let's get into the discussion part. Aggregate demand. So you should not get confused this aggregate demand with a market demand. The aggregate demand is a very broader concept. Okay, let's try to understand better what is exactly this aggregate demand from the context of Keynesian theory. So aggregate demand is nothing but a demand of the whole economy. Okay, so here if I want to make it very precise, the money value or total value of all the final goods and services which all the sectors of an economy are willing to buy or planning to buy during a given period of accounting year. Okay, so that could be treated as an aggregate demand. So you need to understand over here the what aggregate demand we are discussing here, that is an ex ante, it is not exposed. We are only talking about plan to buy, plan to purchase, not the actual purchases. Okay, because that's an assumption of Keynesian theory. Even aggregate demand also be considered as an aggregate expenditure. What and all the expenses being incurred by the economy, those expenses will be equal to the amount of aggregate demand generated in the economy. Okay, so that means aggregate expenditure of an economy can be equal to aggregate demand of an economy. What are those different sectors of an economy can buy the goods and services? Households, firm, government, and even foreign sectors. They all can willing to buy the goods and services in an economy. And one more time, I'm repeating, this aggregate demand, what we are discussing here, that is an ex ante concept. It is not exposed. So let's get into the components. So now let's try to understand some of the components of aggregate demand. So components in the sense, the what and all can be added as a part of aggregate demand. So very first component, that is private consumption expenditure, or even they call it as household consumption expenditure. These are those expenditure incurred by the households on purchase of goods and services during an accounting year. Okay, even this consumption expenditure is also an ex ante, but these consumption expenditure incurred by the household for their day-to-day purposes. So normally this kind of consumption expenditure is highly influenced by their disposal income. What is this disposal income? Disposal income is nothing but the income received by the households from all other sources. Okay, so these disposal income, the households are going to spend it either for consumption or they go for savings. So disposal income will influence the level of consumption expenditure of households. Yeah, this is number one, that is private consumption expenditure. And we have a second component, that is investment expenditure. So investment expenditure we represented with a letter I. Okay, what is this investment expenditure? This is that expenditure incurred by all the private firms on their capital goods. What and all the expenses being incurred by the private firms for the purchase or accumulation of capital goods, those will be treated as an investment expenditure. What kind of capital goods? It can be machinery, plant, equipments, building. Okay, even change in stock, all will be treated as a capital good, and the what expenses incurred on them, that will be called it as investment expenditure. Keynesian theory, we have another assumption on this concept investment expenditure. Here we are taking that investment as an autonomous investment. Okay, autonomous investment is that investment which is not influenced by an income. So whatever might be the level of income, investment will be remains constant. Okay, this is a next assumption we could see in a Keynesian theory. Okay, let's go for the third component, that is government expenditure. The government expenditure, nothing but those expenditures incurred by the government on purchase of consumer goods as well capital goods. Why do they spend on consumer goods and capital goods? Means for the welfare of the economy. Okay, to meet the common needs of an economy. Okay, so these kind of expenditures will be treated as government expenditure. Yes, even this element is also an ex ante concepts. So what can be an example for consumption expenditure? You can take the expenses incurred on law and order, administration, education, health, transport, defense, scholarship, all will be coming under consumption expenditure done by the government. And investment expenditure, nothing but construction of highways, roads, education institution, power plants, all will be treated as investment expenditure. Put together, we will call it as a government expenditure. Okay, we have a last component, that is net exports. Okay, net export, nothing but the differences between exports and imports. Okay, so this net export is nothing but those exports being made to the rest of the world, those goods which being bought by the rest of the world. Okay, if we add those exports, we could be treated as a part of aggregate demand. Okay, so these are some of the components of aggregate demand. Number one, private consumption expenditure. Number two, investment expenditure. Number three, government expenditure. And the last one is net exports, export minus imports. Symbolically, we can say that AD is equals to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. I hope this video was informative to you all. So let me try to meet you with another informative video. Till that time, take care. Thank you.